be looking at who I think is going to dethrone every single current champion in the WWE. And we're going to look at every single title, including all of the ones on the main roster, all the way down to all of the current champions in NXT as well. So my current thought process is to maybe make this a once a month video, because it seems like the landscape of the WWE tends to change quite a bit after every major premium live event. But you guys let me know if you want me to do these every like 3 months or every 4 months. You let me know. But right now I'm going to be doing them every month unless you guys say otherwise. So this is your time to sound off in the comments about this series. And hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident that you're going to fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. For this video, I'm going to do it slightly different, where I'm actually going to look at who the champion was the last time that I made this video. I'm going to look at the prediction that I made in that past video and compare it to where we are today. All right, let's look at some of these champions now. In the last video, the United States champion was Rey Mysterio, and I felt like back then that he had no direction as to where they were going to go with him as the United States champion and what they were planning on doing with the actual United States championship itself. It just sort of felt like Rey Mysterio was holding the championship for the sake of holding the championship until the WWE can figure out what they want to do with that championship. Now, ultimately, I ended up being right about that point because he ultimately didn't really do that much with the United States championship. But my prediction at that time was that Bobby Lashley was going to be the one to defeat Rey Mysterio. I really thought that this feud between the LWO and the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley was really going to blossom into something bigger and going to eventually blossom into a major push for Bobby Lashley as the United States champion. That, folks, ended up being wildly wrong. I mean, the LWO is still feuding with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits as of the making of this video, but my God, back when I made that original video, I could not have predicted the rise of Logan Paul as the United States champion this quickly, because Logan Paul has just recently won the United States championship from Rey Mysterio. So now we have to look at who I think is going to dethrone Logan Paul, because I think he's going to hold this championship for quite a long time. I think he isn't going to be the part-time champion that a lot of people are expecting. I have a feeling that he may have signed some sort of agreement to make more appearances on places like Raw and SmackDown. So I think we're going to see quite a few title defenses from Logan Paul, but I think if they want to legitimately build Logan Paul as a contender for other major championships in the future, and if they want to help elevate the United States championship as a whole, something that they've struggled with here over the last about 2 years, they're going to have him hold it for a while, and they're going to have him lose it to somebody huge. And look, you're going to hate this, all right? So please just bear with me and don't unsubscribe when I tell you that I think it's going to be LA Knight. LA Knight has just recently lost his WWE Universal Championship match versus Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, but I don't think that this is the end of the rise of popularity for LA Knight. I think that when it came to a world title, LA Knight was the right guy at the wrong time, because I really believe that the push is now to have Roman Reigns beat Hulk Hogan in terms of the number of days as a major champion in the WWE. So LA Knight was never a serious threat to Roman Reigns, but it doesn't change the fact that he is wildly popular. And if they build this right, a feud between LA Knight and Logan Paul could be absolutely mouth-watering, to the point that I think that this should definitely be at WrestleMania, and maybe with a good enough build could maybe even be the night one main event of WrestleMania. Don't call me crazy. The tag titles did main event night one of WrestleMania this past WrestleMania, so it's not absolutely out of this world to have the United States Championship be the one to main event night one, especially when you have the biggest babyface in the WWE at the moment, LA Knight, taking on one of the biggest celebrity mainstream presence that is currently a champion in Logan Paul. I think that the cards are there for that to be a possibility. I think it's going to be LA Knight, but I don't think it's going to be for quite a long time, until at the very earliest WrestleMania. Next up, let's look at the NXT North American Championship. And the person that was the champion when I made the last video was Dominic Mysterio. Now, I had predicted that Dominic Mysterio would lose the North American title to Trick Williams. Whoop that trick, am I right? And I was right. Oh my goodness, Trick Williams is your North American champion. Psych, he lost it 2 days later to Dominic Mysterio again. So we're right back to square one. Still, I don't care what you say. I'm going to say that I was right. I said he would lose it to Trick Williams. I didn't say for how long Trick Williams was going to hold it for. I just said that he'd lose it to Trick Williams, and I was right. But now we have to look at who is going to dethrone Dominic Mysterio for this championship, because I don't think that it's going to be Trick Williams, because it looks like Trick Williams is now off to do bigger things and do a much bigger storyline with Carmelo Hayes. And I think that's a storyline that could potentially get as big and as brutal and as violent as Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano in the NXT Black and Gold days. We'll see. That's still very, very early to make a bold claim like that. But we just had Wes Lee return back to NXT, and I'm a little bit surprised because I really thought that he was primed and ready to go to the main roster. I guess that's not the case. Maybe he had some vacation. Either way, he is back. Let's not forget that Wes Lee was the North American champion when Dominic Mysterio defeated him for the championship. So there is history here between these two. I know that the Wes Lee has been telling a story of the guy who is just continuously being set aside, and he's frustrated that he's not getting these opportunities. And I think he's going to come back with an edge that we haven't really seen before. I do think that the time of the main roster members holding NXT titles is starting to wind down, because we saw Becky Lynch lose her title. We'll get to that in just a second. And I think it's a matter of time that Dominic Mysterio is also going to lose that championship as well. And I think that he's going to be losing it to the returning Wes Lee. We already kind of talked about her, but Becky Lynch did lose her NXT Women's Championship. In the last video, I had predicted that she would lose it to Tiffany Stratton. I ended up being wildly wrong, because she ended up losing it to Irish countrywoman in Lyra Valkyria in a very good match at NXT Halloween Havoc. So now this puts us in a bit of a difficult situation, because Lyra Valkyria is a good person. She is a babyface, and there aren't really that many dominant heels in terms of the women's division in NXT. The closest one right now is Tiffany Stratton, but she's busy in a different feud with Hanley right now. So I don't think that it's going to be Tiffany Stratton. I think Tiffany Stratton is going to be removed from the NXT women's title picture for a little while. So when I look at the women's roster in NXT, the evil that they've been building up to this point, the biggest heel that they've created so far is Blair Davenport. And I actually think that Blair Davenport could end up being a really good foil to Lyra Valkyria, and ultimately could make a really interesting NXT women's champion. We haven't really had somebody that's like gritty, bad, rude, evil really hold this championship in a very, very long time. So I'm down to see Blair Davenport. She's improved tremendously. I think that overall she has the right look and the right package to be the evil heel women's champion of NXT, and I think she can be the one to break the hearts of everybody that has been rooting for Lyra Valkyria up until this point. Now let's look at the current WWE Women's Tag Champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. In the last video, they were also the champions. However, I had predicted them to lose the championship to a team of Tegan Nox and Natalya, and I do think that that was the case. They were building these four continuously having matches with one another, and the most recent match as of the making of this video was the great trick or street fight between Natalya and Chelsea Green. I really believe that this is where they were going to go. However, Tegan Nox has been recently injured. I don't know how severe her injury is, but maybe we've jumped the shark from this. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on these two. In fact, I think that we've jumped the shark to the point that I think that they're just going to skip to where we were going all along at this point, which was to give the Witches, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, the tag championships. And in my opinion, they should have been women's champions this whole time. They shouldn't have lost their NXT championships to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. They should have been the one to unify the championships, and they should have been the women's tag champions to help legitimize that entire division. I do hope that the end goal is to come back to this and give them the championships, because they are the most complete women's tag team and the most legitimate women's tag team in the entire roster through NXT or through the main roster. Give them the championship. They will help legitimize this entire division, and they will be severely entertaining. I want to see them as tag champions. Let's stay in the tag team division, this time the NXT Tag Champions. In the last video, the champions were Stacks and Tony D'Angelo, the family. And I had predicted that they would lose the NXT Championships to Garza and Carrillo. However, I ended up being wildly off and very wrong. I had nowhere in my bingo card that Chase U were going to be the ones to dethrone the family. It didn't click. It didn't make sense that another set of babyface tag teams would beat the babyface tag teams. It never once crossed my mind. It was a very pleasant surprise to see them win the NXT Tag Championships from the family at NXT Halloween Havoc. Still, I'm not going to get too creative here because there is a storyline in place where they could lose the championships right back to the family, but I don't know. I just don't see that at the moment. In fact, I really see these guys being the future of the NXT tag team division. They are so good. Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo have just been cooking in the ring, delivering match of the night after match of the night. They have gotten so much better in every regard. They are lightning years ahead of where they were during the pandemic, both in the ring, in character work, in terms of their promos. So I really think that the WWE should pull the trigger on these guys sooner rather than later and have them be your NXT champions. And I know that the WWE is always looking to have major Latino representation in terms of Latinos holding gold, and I don't think you need to overcomplicate things. Give these guys the straps. Next up, we have the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, the Ring General. And yes, he was the champion back when I made the last video, and the champion when I made the video before this, and the champion when I made the video before that, because he is the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in WWE history, and I don't see him losing this championship anytime soon. There have been a lot of comers, a lot of goers, and none of them have even so much as really properly threatened Gunther, aside from maybe Chad Gable. Chad Gable really had the in-ring chops to do it while also having the support of the entire WWE Universe, and even he wasn't able to dethrone Gunther. So I don't know where we're going to have somebody just come out of nowhere and defeat Gunther. On top of that, I just don't think that there is anyone in that mid-card that could support the weight of dethroning the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. I think The Miz could be that guy. He has the pedigree to be able to hold that burden, but I just don't see The Miz beating Gunther. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I'm excited to see the feud, but I don't see a world where The Miz is the one that dethrones Gunther. Again, I love The Miz, but I don't see it. I'm going to stick with my original prediction that I made last video, which was that it's going to be Sheamus at a major show. Like, Sheamus has the pedigree to be the one to hold the burden of ending that major streak from Gunther. He is a guy that has just been working his ass off over the last couple of years in the WWE. To quote him, he has been putting on banger after banger after banger after banger. And out of everyone on the list, I think that the Intercontinental Champion would do the most benefit to somebody like Sheamus, because it helps solidify his already Hall of Fame resume and really makes it concrete and indisputable that he's one of the greatest to ever do it. When will this happen? I think it could be the Royal Rumble. I think it could be Elimination Chamber. I think it could be maybe we wait all the way until Berlin Bash in Berlin. Maybe WrestleMania 40. I don't know. As of the making of this video, Sheamus is hurt. He is injured, but still, I think that it's worth the wait. I think that Gunther should not drop this to anybody else. I just don't see anyone aside from somebody named Sheamus having the pedigree to be the one to defeat Gunther. The NXT World Champion is still the same as of the making of the last video, that being Ilya Dragunov, who had defeated Carmelo Hayes at NXT No Mercy. Look, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back here, because when I made this video, there was no indication whatsoever that he was going to be feuding with Baron Corbin. And as of the making of this video, it looks like the main feud for Ilya Dragunov is going to be Baron Corbin. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of an extra bonus point there. I know that he hasn't won yet, but at least he's in the picture. And not only do I think he's going to be in the picture, I think he's going to beat Ilya Dragunov, because I think that Ilya Dragunov is main roster ready. I think that they could do do some wonderfully awesome things for him. I think that they probably want him on the main roster by the time that they do Bash in Berlin. And of course, you don't want him being a newbie by then. You want him being somebody that's known by the wider WWE universe. So I could see Ilya Dragunov being called up sooner rather than later. And I could see the WWE rewarding Baron Corbin for the years of amazing, consistently great work that he's been putting on. And if you haven't been watching NXT or haven't been keeping up with anything that Baron Corbin's been doing, Baron Corbin's doing the best work of his career. He is looking so good in terms of his in-ring work. He is just crushing it on the microphone and character work. He really has taken that time that he spent in NXT and truly, genuinely elevated himself. And I think he's going to get rewarded soon with that NXT strap. Let's look at the WWE Undisputed Tag Champions, who in the last video were Heat. Do you feel him, sir? Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. So I actually made two predictions as to who was going to beat them. I actually said that it could be the dreaded vacant. I thought that they might just vacate the tag championships. I thought that maybe the person that was going to go to SmackDown was going to be Cody Rhodes, forcing them to split the championships and vacate them. That's what my original prediction was. Ultimately, it ended up being Kevin Owens that ended up going to SmackDown, so this didn't come to fruition. My other potential to beat them was the Bloodline, because they were making a lot of appearances on Friday Night SmackDown, having face downs with Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, and I saw a world where perhaps maybe Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa were going to be the ones to beat Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. All of this doesn't matter because I was so off, because they did not get creative with this in any way, shape, or form, and then just decided to give the championships right back to the Judgment Day. And look, we're like basically in a never-ending Groundhog Day with these tag championships, where no true actual tag team is holding these belts. It's just a set of main event guys that don't defend the championships in the actual tag team division. And I think that this is going to be a symptom that's going to last for quite a long time, until the WWE finally decides to bring tag team gold back to the tag team division. And the tag team division is slowly growing. It's getting better. Their matches are match of the night contenders. We just brought up the Creed brothers from NXT. So the tag team division is becoming more and more stacked and more impressive by the week. And at some point, there's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, where WWE management needs to realize that all of these great tag teams that they have deserve something to fight for, and that has to be the tag championships. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say that eventually, whenever they decide to stop this storyline of having main eventers hog the tag titles, I think that it's possible that the Judgment Day could lose the championships to a traditional tag team, and I think that that can be, in terms of their pedigree, they definitely have it. It could be the New Day. We already saw a very small glimpse of an interaction between the New Day and the new Judgment Day during the Halloween episode, where the New Day dressed up as the Judgment Day. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we're starting to build something there, but I think it's time to give these titles to a traditional tag team. No more makeshift main eventers. Give them to a tag team. Give them to the New Day so that they can defend it against the Creeds, the Viking Raiders, Pretty Deadly, against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. It doesn't matter. Just have them be won by a tag team, please. Io Sky just keeps winning. She just keeps winning against main eventer, against main eventer, against main eventer. And I've been predicting her to lose this championship for what feels like months now. I was certain that she was going to lose it to Charlotte. I was certain that she was going to lose it to Bianca Belair at the most recent Crown Jewel. In fact, I said in my last video that she would lose it to Bayley. I still think that there is a storyline here, and I do think that we're going to get Io Sky versus Bayley very, very soon now, with the re-debut, I should say, of Kairi Sane, who might be the one that puts a wedge between Io Sky and Bayley. And I think that wedge is inevitably going to lead to a match between Io Sky and Bayley. Here's the thing. I predicted that Bayley would win that championship, but I don't see that being the case anymore, because I think now that Kairi Sane is on the roster teaming up alongside Io Sky, I think that they're going to have Io Sky hold that championship a bit longer to make the debut of Kairi Kairi Sane feel more special and make that maybe tag team or faction that that forms based on the return of Kairi Sane feel strong and powerful. However, I've seen this story before, all right? Evildoers get together and they still get thwarped and destroyed and overcome by Super Cena. Sorry, not Super Cena, Super Bianca. I still think that Bianca Belair is going to be the one that beats Io Sky here, because now that the odds have gotten even more difficult for somebody like a Super Cena, anytime the odds got worse, he ended up winning more. And I could see that formula being the formula that they end up using for somebody like Bianca Belair. So somewhere down the line, whether it's the Royal Rumble, whether it's Elimination Chamber, before Mania though, I think that Io Sky is going to lose to Bianca Belair. Super Bianca. Seth Rollins is becoming one of the most frustrating champions, and I finally connected the dots. I now understand why I keep rooting against Seth Rollins, even though I really like Seth Rollins. I keep rooting against Seth Rollins because they keep having him feud against guys that we want to see win the big one, okay? So they had him feud with Finn Balor, the guy who was screwed over by an injury and only held the championship for one day. They had him feud against Nakamura, the guy that we've always thought they should have pulled the trigger on a few years ago and they didn't, and against Drew McIntyre, the guy that won the big one in front of no one. So it's always feuds against guys that we want to see succeed, which is why I keep rooting against Seth Rollins. Now, last video, I said that it was going to be Drew McIntyre. I did predict that it was going to be as early as Crown Jewel. I ended up being wildly off there because, of course, Seth Rollins beat my boy Big D, Drew McIntyre. But I don't think that this story is done. I think that this is going to lead to perhaps a spiral into the dark side for Drew McIntyre with his broken dreams in tow, perhaps. And I think that eventually, maybe at this Survivor Series, we're going to have Drew McIntyre be your new world heavyweight champion. Rhea Ripley is your current women's world champion, and she defeated 4 other women in the Fatal 5-Way at Crown Jewel. And I never once thought for a second that she was going to lose to any of those 4 women. In fact, I'm going to stick with my prediction where I think that the inevitable WrestleMania match, because they keep keeping them away from one another, is Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. For some reason, a lot of people are turning on Becky Lynch. They don't like Becky Lynch. What are we doing? Guys, what are we doing? She went down to NXT and made a new star over there in Lyra Valkyria and made us all fall in love with Tiffany Stratton. She's doing some great stuff. And I think that she's going to get rewarded for her work in NXT. And I think that she's going to get a WrestleMania main event caliber match against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. How we get there, I don't know. My prediction, which you're not going to like, is that I think that Becky Lynch is going to be the first ever 2 times Women's Royal Rumble winner. And I think she's going to take that Royal Rumble win and cash it in against the match with Rhea Ripley. That's what I predicted a month ago, and I'm going to stick to that prediction. And I might have to change it for next month's video. We'll see. But so far, I'm sticking with my guns from last month. And that leaves us, of course, with the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Put him up. Have you acknowledged your tribal chief yet today? Last video, I predicted that it could be The Rock. And I also predicted that if it's not The Rock, that it's Cody Rhodes. I'm going to keep my prediction the same, but slightly off. I'm now predicting that The Rock is never going to be part of this equation. All right. I've removed those thoughts from my head, all of those beliefs from my body that The Rock has a chance of competing at WrestleMania. I don't see it anymore. I really don't. And I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. I think it was always Cody Rhodes. However, there is something that's nagging me. I don't think that Roman is going to lose at WrestleMania. I think that Roman is going to beat whoever it is that he's facing at WrestleMania. And I think he's going to hold it for, I think it's 4 or 5 more months after WrestleMania to surpass Hulk Hogan, so that they can remove Hulk Hogan from the history books and have Roman Reigns be the new greatest of the modern era. So maybe after that, maybe that's when Cody Rhodes wins it. But dude, I just see no end in sight for Roman Reigns' illustrious title reign. A title reign, mind you, that is becoming less illustrious when he's only defending it once every 4 months, to be fair. Because if I look at, since WrestleMania, he's defended the title at SummerSlam and at Crown Jewel, right? That's it. He's only defended the title twice since WrestleMania. And if we're only going to get this many title defenses, 3 or 4 per year, I could see a world where he continues to hold this championship beyond WrestleMania and surpass Hulk Hogan. Sorry, Cody. I just don't think that you're ending the story at this year's WrestleMania. I think it might be WrestleMania 41. Call me crazy. I don't see him losing at WrestleMania 40. But that's it for this month at least. Again, you guys need to let me know whether you want to see these videos on a monthly basis or you want me to wait longer. You let me know, okay? All right, I'm actually going to be keeping your thoughts into account here, so please voice your opinion. And if you have no opinion, just leave like an emoji or something. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Okay, I'm done. Get out of here.